Hondo S. Carpenter wrote a really great article for Sports Illustrated about everything that happened in the lead up to Derek Carr getting benched. And I really felt like I learned a lot from this article. I would encourage you to check out the whole thing because there's a lot of detail. I'm not going to go over the whole article. I think these 4 bullet points kind of sum it up or get to the heart of the issue more than anything else. Carr felt it was a little unfair that Josh McDaniels was being so hard on him. Like, there was a lot of criticism in film study, it seemed like, because Derek Carr is the quarterback. He touches the ball the most, so he's just going to get the most criticism. That's how it works. So you got quotes like, I think Derek became more concerned about Josh's criticism than he did anything else. One player said Josh McDaniels had sold Derek on how much he believed in him, and then after the criticism came, it made Derek think that Josh was dishonest. Derek didn't like him. Derek thought Josh McDaniels thought he sucked, and McDaniels and Carr couldn't quite come to an understanding about McDaniels' coaching style, really. He was just too hard on Carr, is what it sounds like from this article. And Carr was playing a bit out of character this year. His time to throw was 2.84 seconds in 2022. That's the highest mark of his career. Carr's average depth of target was 9.1 yards down the field, which is the highest of his career by a pretty substantial amount, almost a full yard. In November of last season, Carr talked about how much he loved going up-tempo, playing fast, saying it's something that I've always loved. Maybe it's because that's how I played in college, just playing as fast as possible. But even though Carr stated publicly that that's the way he's most comfortable playing, Las Vegas never did it. They were 28th in the league in no-huddle snaps. And these no-huddle situations, I think, are what separates Carr from a lot of the quarterbacks in the league. He's very comfortable calling his own plays, getting everybody set himself, making quick reads pre-snap, knowing where to go with the football, top of his drop, getting the ball out fast. There's a minute 16 left in this game. Everybody's running up to the line for the next play. He's calling the play again, getting everybody set again, sequencing this. Like, this is all Carr running the show right here, and this is what he's talking about in that article. Hits Josh Jacobs on the wheel route, gets them in a position to win this game. Carr has several traits that NFL offensive coordinators should covet because he can run an offense at a high level, and he has done it before. He's tough, he's poised, he's smart. On this play, that all shines through. Versus the Seahawks, there's a bit of a smash concept happening here with an underneath route by Keelan Cole, and then a deeper corner off the top. They're going to high-low Tariq Woolen, who is the underneath corner in a cover 2 look. They're going to high-low him, and obviously you'd rather have the high route than the low route because it's more yards. So Derek Carr drops back. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Derek Carr drops back. You see him try to get Woolen to bite on that underneath route with a bit of a pump fake right there, twitching the shoulders with his eyes on that underneath route. That's going to help open up Matt Collins a bit deeper. Carr hangs in there. Despite this looper running free at him, he takes an absolute shot. He gets crushed on this play. I think this play hurt his ribs, and he had to play the rest of this game injured. But he hangs in there after manipulating the corner and gets an explosive play. That's exactly what you're looking for. That's perfect quarterbacking. That pass had a lot of zip on it. Carr has plenty of arm strength on this play. He's running forward, and just with a flick of the wrist, this thing goes like 55 yards in the air. Perfect dime to Davante Adams for a clutch touchdown. And it's not even like Carr led some horrible offense this year. They were 10th in yards picked up per drive, 8th in points scored per drive. Like, this was a top 10 offense, borderline. But at the end of the day, the Raiders only won 6 games, and this was a team with playoff aspirations. And Carr himself had several tough outings that directly led to this record, especially at the end of the year. And it got him benched. And I'm going to talk about some of the flaws that got exposed in his game, some that have always been there, but got especially exposed this year. In my opinion, the biggest problem with Derek Carr's game is his lack of creativity and his lack of escapability. There really aren't that many second reaction, third reaction throws. There aren't many scrambles. And he just wants to be in structure. But sometimes being in structure doesn't work. Like, no one's open on this play. Blanketed, 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 blanketed. But the Patriots are putting a lot of depth in their defense, trying to protect the goal line here. So there's a lot of space to kind of move or scramble. And when it comes to their front, they're running a little game here. But this defensive tackle gets kind of caught up in the wash here, doesn't really get across cleanly and set a hard edge. So there's a lot of room to escape to Carr's left here, whether that be just a straight up scramble. I bet he could get pretty far down the field, pretty close to the end zone, or just moving laterally and trying to create a throw out of structure when someone just kind of springs open. But that's not really where his head goes in these situations. He's not trying to create right now, even though I think that there's a very easy avenue to extend this play. But instead, he's staying right where he was, right at his launch point. Even though the pocket is collapsing on him, he's literally getting knocked backwards by this defensive tackle and just throws up a prayer to the flat. Now, maybe this is a bad example to use because he actually ends up completing this pass to Josh Jacobs in the flat here because number 3 gets tangled up with Jacobs and falls down. But I do think it's an example of Carr wanting to be a statue and just standing there when there's an easy opportunity to maybe be a bit more dynamic. And I get that this got completed, but a prayer to the flat is questionable. It's still questionable. Here's another example where initially he's trying to read out this dagger route, but there is a bit of pressure from his right side here, and he actually bails out this time. But once he bails out, it's 2nd and long here. He can throw it to number 87, just zip it out right to him. Or if you're worried about this guy coming down, like if he comes down to take away 87, you've got Hunter Renfrow breaking towards the sideline. And Derek Carr has the arm strength to like throw it there on the run. He's got a good arm, but he doesn't do either of those things, even though 87 is open to make this 3rd and manageable. Instead, he's going to double back inside and just take a sack, which like he just doesn't have much instinct for creating out of structure. He just doesn't. I don't think anyone would consider Andy Dalton mobile, but last year Andy Dalton actually had more passing attempts off of broken plays and scrambles than Derek Carr did. And Andy Dalton played like hundreds less snaps. Now, if you're a Saints fan, you will see Derek Carr break the pocket more often than you'd be used to watching Andy Dalton or Drew Brees or Trevor Siemian, but he's just not particularly great at it. If you look at the success rate on plays where Carr breaks the pocket, pretty good in 2021, but like in 2022, Dalton was more successful than him breaking the pocket, which is kind of disappointing considering that Carr is actually a pretty athletic dude. Now, if you're not going to be an elite creator, you better be an elite pocket passer. And Carr doesn't quite rise to that level. I think he has a lot of footwork issues, especially this year it popped up where he is attempting throws. On this play, for example, it is a go route, a back shoulder throw to Davante Adams at the bottom of the screen here. But his feet are just totally square to the line of scrimmage. And they're not pointed at his target. They're pointed directly at the sideline. So where does he miss? He's too far towards the sideline. I think he got benched because of the footwork issues. This was the last game he started versus Pittsburgh, and his feet were a complete disaster in this game. On this play, yes, there is pressure when this looper comes around, but there is still space for Carr to step into this throw. Get that front foot pointed at your target. Again, that's Davante Adams here. Get that back foot aligned. So that's called the hallway. So right now, his back foot hallway is basically pointed this way, and then his front foot is pointed towards the sideline here. It's just not a good base to throw from consistently. So he's fading away when he doesn't need to be and misses Davante. This is maybe a better example of what I'm talking about with the hallway thing. So there's a bit of a play action here, but then it's just plant throw, and he misses too far behind. It's picked by Minkah Fitzpatrick. This ball needs to be like here to be thrown perfectly accurate, but the feet and the lower body are just aligned more towards the sideline. And the ball goes where the hallway is. And that's just a bit too far behind Renfrow. He's got to adjust, try to make a very difficult catch behind him. Can't do it. Just goes right to Fitzpatrick. This is very late in the Pittsburgh game. This is a good pocket to just slide up in. He doesn't need to throw this on the move. And when he does throw it, where's that back foot pointed? It's towards the sideline, towards the field sideline right now. And where does the ball miss? Too far this way. You watch Renfrow. He was running this big post. He has to twist around and track this thing now the other way, but it's actually going right to Levi Wallace. Pick that ends this game. I think the story that the film and the stats and the eyewitness account paint this year is a very stressed quarterback doing stuff he's not comfortable with. I guess my hypothesis would be Derek Carr is a guy who wants to play fast, up tempo, get the ball out of his hands quickly, but he didn't want to get yelled at in the film room. And so that made him hold on the ball longer. He felt like he had to read everything out perfectly all the time. Carr didn't really trust McDaniels, so he wasn't really comfortable playing in structure. And he's just not the type of guy who's very comfortable playing out of structure either. So you just end with this guy who's never really in a rhythm. And that's what it felt like watching Derek Carr, just never really comfortable or getting in a good flow. So what does this mean for his projection going forward? Well, I think that Carr, in a situation where he feels a bit more comfortable, could certainly outdo what he did last year. He could definitely go the entire season without getting benched. That's for sure. But if you're the Saints, his new team, Andy Dalton doesn't offer you much in terms of creativity or out of structure stuff, but Dalton was actually pretty good when it came to just operating the offense as it was meant to be run last year. Now, Carr might be more likely to repeat that performance than Dalton is himself, but is he really going to be enough of an upgrade to take the Saints from mid-team to Super Bowl contender? Personally, I don't think Derek Carr is that level of guy, and like I've said on TikTok and some other places before, like I just don't think Carr moves the needle enough for the Saints to keep investing resources in what is never going to be a Super Bowl window to me. So I don't love the deal. I still think Carr can play better, but I just think his ceiling is capped. I think we know what he is at this point. So yeah, that's kind of my report on him. Not super bullish on his future, to be completely honest, or the Saints' future. So sorry about that downer report, but that's what I got for you. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week with another video, probably something about the draft.